Hey, it's Health Coach Tara, and today we're going to break down exactly what the ketogenic diet is so that you can harness its power and have fat melting off your body within a week. Hi, I'm so glad you're here. I'll teach you how ketosis works and answer some common questions about the ketogenic diet using proven information from industry experts. In case you're new around here, make sure you subscribe to this channel by clicking on the red button below. I upload a new fact-based video every week, in addition to a keto recipe video to help you along your keto journey. Disclaimer, please know that I'm not a medical practitioner and the information presented in this video is in no way intended to diagnose, treat, or cure any disease. Now let's dig in. The ketogenic diet is often referred to as low carb, high fat, or the keto diet. Keto is just an abbreviation of ketogenic. A keto diet's goal is to move the body into a natural state of ketosis by eating a very low amount of carbohydrates. So it's low in carbs, moderate in protein, and high in fat. The percentages or grams of the carbs, the protein, and the fat are called macros because these are our macronutrients that we eat on a daily basis. This is really important to know because when on a keto diet, you'll need to closely track your macros or your ratio of carbs, fats, and proteins. If you search Google for the keto diet, you'll notice many versions. Some are blatantly wrong, and sometimes it's difficult to tell fact from fiction. But don't worry, I'm going to help you with that. So how do you tell if it's a healthy version of the keto diet? A true keto diet is going to contain no grain. No wheat, no oatmeal, no rye, no barley. It's going to contain 0 sugars, except for those sugars that you would naturally find in vegetables and some low carbohydrate fruits. And it's going to contain no refined foods. Beware of prepackaged bars and products touted as low carb and keto that contain some of these ingredients I just mentioned. Many of my clients have accidentally thrown themselves out of ketosis by thinking that these were okay to eat. When in doubt, just avoid it. When you're eating a ketogenic diet, you eat a lot of fat. In fact, 70 to 80% of calories are going to come from fat. 10 to 20% of calories is protein. Keto is not a high protein diet. And then 5 to 20% come from carbohydrates, primarily from plants, meat and nuts that naturally occur alongside high fat foods. Your exact macros are going to vary from person to person to person, depending on where you figure out you need to be to stay in ketosis. As I mentioned, there are many different versions of the keto diet out there. What makes them all keto is that the goal of the dietary restrictions is to change where your body gets its energy. So let's talk a little more about the body and its energy sources because it's very important that you understand this concept so that you can fully harness the power of the ketogenic diet. So as I already mentioned, the goal of the keto diet is to change the body's primary fuel source from sugar to fat. So you want to change your body's fuel source from burning glucose, which is your sugar, to primarily burning ketones, which are made from fat or fatty acids. So just a quick side note. Keep in mind, our body is an incredibly complex system, and I'm attempting to really simplify things here because you don't need to be a scientist to figure out how to use keto. Our body runs on various sources of fuel, and it's not producing only one fuel source or running on one single type of fuel. So just tuck this into the back of your mind for now. So when we eat a normal diet high in carbs, maybe moderate in protein, lower in fats, our body predominantly uses glucose or sugar for fuel. Fuel, I mean energy. When we ingest more glucose than we need, it's converted into glycogen and stored in our muscles and liver. Eventually, this is stored in our body tissues as fat. Now, what happens when our body runs out of glucose or sugar? It's going to take that glycogen that it's stored away, and it will convert the stored glycogen to glucose. So think of glycogen as your spare battery or your love handles, and glucose as the actual sugar that your body's going to burn. When you begin eating keto, your body first will burn through all of its glycogen stores. The liver itself stores around 400 calories worth of glycogen. And then our muscles store between 1,400 and 2,000 calories worth of glycogen. But the muscles are unique because they will never share these calories with other organs. Once our glycogen stores are depleted, the liver shifts to breaking down fat, or fatty acids, to produce ketones to use as its primary energy source. At this point, you're entering a state of ketosis, where your body is producing ketones for energy. So have you ever heard of the keto flu? This is the point where the symptoms of the keto flu can kick in. Your body is going to try and trick you into eating carbohydrates because it really doesn't want to do the extra work of producing ketones. Your body needs time to adapt. And the keto flu it will end, and it's kind of a signal. But if you're anything like me, you're probably wondering, how do I avoid the keto flu? And we're going to get to that. To review, on a traditional diet, the body primarily uses glucose for fuel, sugar. When it runs out of glucose, it turns to glycogen, which is stored away in your liver and muscles. On a keto diet, the glycogen has been depleted, and the body changes to using fats as its primary source of energy. The liver is in charge of breaking down these fatty acids and converting it to ketones. And ketones become your body's primary fuel source. Got it? All right, awesome. So now I'm going to throw a wrench in this logic. Because our body is a complex organism, and I've really simplified this explanation for you, but there's a few more things that you need to know. If you do some research on your own, you're going to find quite a variety of information. So let's go to the experts. According to The Art and Science of Low Carbohydrate Living, which, by the way, is an excellent book to add to your collection if you're interested in the science behind ketosis, they tell us that our cells and organs have different fuel source preferences. Our body has a smart workflow to transform energy from one form into another to meet the needs of specific organs and cells. Our skeletal muscles, so these are the ones that move our body around, prefer fat for fuel. They can use fatty acids, glucose, and ketone bodies. The muscles have large glycogen stores, but only use these stores for their immediate energy needs. They're a little selfish. They're not able to share glycogen stores with other parts of the body. The heart is another muscle that prefers fatty acids as fuel. It can also be fueled by ketones and lactate. And lactate is created during the process of glucose breakdown. The liver uses a lot of energy to perform a lot of important tasks for the body, and its preferred energy source is also fat. Our brain can use glucose, ketones, or a combination of the two for fuel. It cannot burn fat directly, though the brain contains a lot of fatty acids. The brain is unable to store fuel and requires a constant supply of energy. This is why you sometimes feel lightheaded. On a traditional restrictive diet where you're cutting calories and maybe you go work out and then afterwards you feel maybe a little lethargic and lightheaded, that's your brain screaming at you for more glucose. But we can hack this by training our brain to depend on ketones for fuel. We're going to increase our ability to provide our brain with sustained energy over longer periods of time. Consider this. We all know that a pound of body fat contains around 3,500 calories. We just learned that stored glycogen in the body is about 1,800 to 2,400 total calories between the liver and the muscles. If we can train our body to burn fat for fuel and to become really good at burning fat for fuel, what benefits would that give us? Yes, we have thousands and thousands of calories stored as fat in our tissues. This is why, when done correctly, the ketogenic diet results in fat melting off your body. You have trained your body to become fat adapted, and it knows just where it needs to go to grab that extra energy. It's become so efficient at this process. And instead of triggering your brain for more food, cueing hunger, fatigue, that lethargic feeling in the middle of your afternoon that you hit, it's just going to go to work at converting those stored fatty acids into ketones. It's an awesome hack. If you're like me, you probably have a number of questions about the ketogenic diet. So let's jump in. How long does it take for our body to switch from using glucose to using ketones? For most of us, our body can store a 2 to 3 day supply of glycogen. On the third day, most people will begin to move into ketosis. Now, for some people, this process takes up to 7 days. I happen to be one of those people. There's a lot more going on in your body during this transition period. Your body is learning how to utilize ketones for energy. It's learning how to build new enzymes for fat burning. But for your body to really get good at this conversion, you want to become fat adapted, which can take months and even years for some people with severe metabolic issues. Next question. What happens when you cheat on a keto diet? Well, every time you cheat on a keto diet and eat carbs, your body instantly switches back to burning glucose as its primary fuel source. So what does that mean to you? If you have to start over from the very beginning because you cheated on your keto diet because of a momentary lapse in judgment, would you still cheat? If you're anything like me, you're going to find that once you do the work to get into ketosis, you won't let some little temptation make you do that work all over again. The keto flu is no piece of cake, even once you learn how to avoid it for the most part. So what is the keto flu? The keto flu refers to the symptoms associated with your body learning how to adapt to your new diet. Symptoms can include fatigue, brain fog, headaches, body aches, lightheadedness, leg cramps, and just generally not feeling well, like you have the flu. So now you're probably wondering, how can I avoid or minimize symptoms of the keto flu? Well, the severity of the keto flu, and if you even experience it at all, depends on a number of factors. One factor is electrolyte balance. As the body's glycogen reserves are depleted, fluid and electrolytes are excreted from the cells. This is why you'll notice weight loss during your very first week. Count on most of this being water weight. Your body is shedding sodium and electrolytes as glycogen stores are burned up. Now, it's important to replace these electrolytes and make sure you're eating enough salt. Now, if you're like me and you just heard eat more salt, it can be a little bit alarming. We've been told for years about the dangers of too much salt. But just think for a moment. Think about the carbs we used to eat. These carbs have quite a bit of added salt to them already. Go read the labels on the things you eat on a daily basis. Take a look at the sodium content on that fast food meal that you had last week. Now compare this to our new keto diet. We're eating real, whole, unprocessed food that doesn't have salt already added to it. So it makes sense that we need to make sure our body gets enough salt to function properly. So the question is, how much salt is enough? Well, according to the art and science of low carbohydrate living, you want to add 1 to 2 grams of sodium to your daily intake. On days where you exercise, ensure that you get adequate sodium within an hour prior to exercise. After you've been on keto a week or two, your kidneys are going to start rapidly excreting salt into the urine instead of storing it. So you're going to notice a few things. You're going to notice an increase in urine output, and you're going to notice your weight dropping. And this is going to happen within the first few weeks of a ketogenic diet. Experts say that about half of the weight loss that occurs in the first week of ketosis is due to this release of stored water by your muscles as glycogen stores are depleted. So what's the best way to get this additional sodium? Many experts recommend drinking bouillon. They'll recommend bouillon cubes. Well, this isn't a bad strategy. Unless you're gonna make your own homemade bouillon, I don't actually agree with this. And I'm gonna tell you why. Take a look at the ingredients on any bouillon product, and you're gonna quickly see ingredients such as maltodextrin, which is made from corn, and even sugar in some of the products. Remember, a true keto diet should be 100% grain-free, and there's no place for corn in that diet. So a better option is drinking broth. You know, the broth you can buy in the jugs, or kind of avoid the cans. I tend to go towards the jugs, or make it yourself at home. But be careful when selecting a broth and make sure that you read the ingredient list because sugar is hiding in there. So don't just read the nutrition facts. Look at the ingredient list. If you see sugar or maltodextrin, place it back on the shelf. So another option is to drink a few tablespoons of pickle juice to increase your sodium content each day. A lot of people really love this. Some people will even put it in those mini cupcake containers and freeze it, or the little like single serving ketchup containers and freeze it for the summer. So that's kind of a fun way to get extra salt. You can also just add salt to your food. Experts and myself recommend using a salt such as pink Himalayan salt or gray sea salt. I will link those in the description for you. The reason why is they contain essential minerals as well as the sodium. Finally, you can also use electrolyte formulas, which provide a few important minerals such as magnesium and potassium, in addition to some sodium. You can find my recipe for homemade electrolyte drink that I personally drink daily on my website, and I will add this link in the description section of the video as well. So take a peek at the recipe and make sure you get the ingredients ordered well before you're going to need them. So what are some of the side effects that you can avoid by ensuring an adequate sodium intake and drinking an electrolyte fluid? Well, this includes the keto flu, leg cramps, constipation, keto breath, heart palpitations caused by dehydration and lack of salt, and reduced physical performance. Another factor that will determine how you feel over the first few weeks of a keto diet is where you're starting from. A person who eats a lot of sugar and a very high carbohydrate diet is going to experience withdrawal symptoms from the sugar on top of the symptoms from the keto flu. If this describes you, it's best to use a phased approach. Omit all sugar from your diet for a few weeks, then omit gluten and grain from your diet. At this point, you're reducing your total carbohydrate intake. Finally, go full-blown keto. During these phases, make sure you keep learning about how to do keto correctly. It's really going to help out in the end. Will I have cravings on the ketogenic diet? Most of the cravings on the ketogenic diet happen during the first few weeks. Once your body becomes fat adapted, cravings will be greatly reduced. For me, the longer I remain in ketosis, the less and less cravings impact me. Some people are going to notice this decrease right away, and others it's going to take a month or two to see a drastic reduction in food cravings. Keep in mind that much of this revolves around our habits and what our mind is used to doing. So when you feel hunger or you feel cravings, stop and ask yourself, am I actually hungry? Or am I craving an emotional release? Or is it simply habit that's driving this craving? Take a moment and drink a glass of water and think about this. I found that most of my cravings were a stress response or based on habit. 80% of the time, my body was sending hunger cues just based on the habit of eating at specific times during the day. So how should you exercise on the keto diet? Maybe you noticed that your performance decreased, or maybe you've heard about that. The first few weeks of the keto diet, I do recommend that you exercise. Contrary to popular belief, research shows that exercise is not a weight loss tool. Exercise is a health tool. So I want you to stop exercising to lose weight. I want you to start exercising for the health benefits and to prevent the decline of muscle mass that naturally happens as we age. Exercise to become strong, capable, and to build a healthy, robust body. Now, if you're not currently following an exercise routine, this isn't the time to jump into any hardcore or extreme programs. If you are currently following a routine of any kind, it's a good time to reduce the intensity of exercise you normally do and explore something new. Embrace options like gentle yoga, Pilates, foam rolling, myofascial release techniques, and stretching. In the description below this video, you'll find links to my favorite YouTube channels where you can experiment with these different types of exercise from the comfort of your home for absolutely nothing. If I am an avid exerciser, bodybuilder, or endurance athlete, will keto impact my performance? During the first phase of keto, you're going to see some loss of power and endurance. Studies show that this is temporary as the body adapts to burning fat for fuel. If you are an athlete training for a marathon or event, it's inadvisable, so don't do this, to begin a keto diet for the first time within 4 weeks of the event. Instead, wait till after your event so that you can allow your body enough time to adapt. Every person is going to be different in the time it takes to recover performance. You'll know you're fat adapted once you can outperform yourself. You'll also notice that you can recover faster, you experience less soreness, and you have less exercise-induced inflammation going on in your body. For the first few weeks on a keto diet, the advice is the same. Decrease the intensity of your workouts and replace high-intensity exercise with functional fitness. Focus on flexibility, balance, and core training by utilizing activities such as Pilates, yoga, myofascial release, such as foam rolling, and stretching. This is a great time to work with a personal trainer or physical therapist to identify and correct any muscular imbalances you may have. A quick note on high-intensity exercise. Make sure you're following the electrolyte advice and using an electrolyte formula prior to and during high-intensity workouts. I recommend you pick up the book, The Art and Science of Low Carbohydrate Performance, which is linked below in the description. This book is a must-have resource for the fitness enthusiast, athlete, or for anyone wanting to understand performance on a ketogenic diet. On to the next question. I've heard that with keto, you can lose body fat and maintain or even increase muscle mass. Is this true? Yes, this is true. Becoming keto adapted will allow you to build muscle and burn fat at the same time. The average person can harness this keto superpower by performing strength training 2 to 3 times per week. For the bodybuilder, athlete, or fitness enthusiast, again, I recommend the book, The Art and Science of Low Carbohydrate Performance, which is linked in the description of this video. So now that you understand the ketogenic diet, what do you think? Should you try it? Will you try it? What additional questions do you have that I haven't answered? What's the next video I should make? I would love to know what you're thinking. Comment below and let's chat. If you liked this video, I want to invite you to join my email list so that you can stay updated when I post new content. I send out 1 email a week highlighting new content and a monthly newsletter. Simply follow the link in the description to sign up. You'll also find the links I promised you in this video below in the description. Thanks so much for tuning in. If you haven't already, subscribe for notifications of my weekly recipe and vlog posts. Please remember, I'm not a medical practitioner, and no information in this or any video I produce is meant to diagnose, treat, or cure any disease. Always consult with your physician before beginning a new diet or exercise regimen. Until next time.